under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Shi?
Here.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
You'll be late.
Ms. Peng? Here. Ms. Conway?
Here.
Dr. Chen?
Here.
Ms. Badovsky?
Here.
Ms. Madiker? Here. Ms. White?
Here.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Opening statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, place thereof posted in the Board of Education and administrative offices. Copies of the notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and Star Ledger on January 5th, 2021. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. So today, we're going to have, Dr. Brigham, why don't you take it over?
Yeah, there's been some discussion in our Finance and Facility Committee meeting that we shared briefly with the public and with the full board about a proposed addition to this school at John P. Stevens High School. So tonight, some of the architects from DMR are going to present on what their proposed plans would be, and at this point, if it's okay with the board president, I'll turn it over to Pradeep Kapoor to introduce his team and go over a brief presentation.
Yeah, we need to go down there. Go to the podium. This is manual?
We got to update that screen in. We really have to rope it down. It's ropes.
Is it going off the screen? It's going off the screen. There it goes. Yeah, it's okay. Dr. Begin, shall I start? Thank you, and good evening. My name is Pradeep Kapoor. I'm from DMR Architects. I'm partner in charge, and we thank you for the opportunity to present the design and new addition to the JP Stevens High School. So we've been working with the board for last few months, and we have to understand their vision, to understand the issues with the school, so that we can come up with a plan which would work, and also not only work in today's day and time, but also for the years to come. So just an overview of the project. The existing school is about 220,000 square feet. The current enrollment is 2,654 students. The overview of the project, what we were trying to do in this design, which you will see in the upcoming slides, is all the issues which you know about. It's a reduced overcrowding because the school is, the population has grown and there are more students than school can handle. Improved circulation. There are a lot of dead ends in the school where students have to just turn around and come back to go to different classes. So by improving the circulation, we can reduce some overcrowding and congestions in the corridor. Improve lighting, so always don't look dark and dingy. Improve the learning atmosphere to bring it state-of-the-art, new, current trends and market standards. Improve athletic facilities, that is the indoor gyms and the outdoor fields. The new auditorium, so this is existing auditorium which houses about one class of 750 students, so expand and build a new auditorium. Renovate existing admin and common spaces, and increase parking. So those were our initial thought process, how we wanted to go about designing this. And I'm going to turn it over to Kurt Verheilig. He's here with me. He's partner in charge and director of design from DMR Architects. And Kurt and Michael had been working on this to design the new school. So I'll turn it over to Kurt now.
Thanks, Pradeep. Okay. So here we've got the site plan of the existing J.P. Stevens School. On the bottom of the image here is Grove. On the right, we've got Floyd Street, which comes into the parking lot on the north side of the school. So the school, the light tan color here is the existing school, which is a combination of 2 stories on the south side and 1-story larger volume spaces kind of in the middle and to the north on the right side. So what the plan is proposing is that we add additions to 3 areas on the school. One would be on the front of the school. There'll be a new auditorium and the new main entrance and new lobby, and along with renovated administrative spaces. On the top and the right of the school will be a new classroom wing. So that'll be between a 2 or 3-story structure wrapping around the north and the west side of the school. And then there's this portion which we call the courtyard wing, which will enclose the existing courtyard with 2 stories of program space. So one of the site planning and areas of improvement that we're looking at and to incorporate would be to improve parking. So this plan proposes that there be approximately an additional 160 parking spaces on the site. So with the additions, we'll be reconfiguring some of the parking and expanding some of the parking on the north side here. We'll be expanding and adding more parking on the west side here and along the south edge along here. In the front, we'll be reconfiguring some of the parking areas and some of the circulation and the drop-off basically will be impacted by the new theater and entrance addition that's going to project a little farther out from the existing building. As you can see, there's some general entry points. We have the main lobby. I have on the new classroom wing, there'll be a secondary entrance located here at kind of the intersection, and then there'll be another entrance off of the courtyard wing at the rear there. The other thing we'll be improving with the plan will be loading and the loading dock and area back there. So we'll be enclosing that existing loading area and providing a more efficient and larger area for servicing. So then as it comes to the improvement of other areas in the athletic fields around the school. So basically, one of the larger improvements will be to create this regulation size lacrosse soccer field. That'll be a turf field. That'll be located here. There's the baseball field up here is something that's in progress, so this will be a new under a separate project that's currently underway. There's the grass area here will be restriped and made any improvements to a new practice field for football practice field here, so that'll just be grass restriping. And then as part of the reconfiguration of the parking and the addition, the 5 tennis courts will need to be relocated. So we'll be relocating the 5 tennis courts over to here. And this existing softball field will remain, and the existing stadium and track will remain. So this diagram shows basically the kind of the heartbeat and of the school here. And so basically you have all the light red are the existing circulation elements. All the dark red are new circulation elements. And one of the biggest challenges and issues with the school currently is that there's this kind of singular pinch point here between the south 2-story classroom wing and the north wing, which is more of the program, larger group spaces, and the theater and arts program on this end. So right now we have this major logjam congestion happening right in this area here. So that will be addressed as part of the renovation here. That hallway will be made larger and will be improved and opened up as part of the new, what will be a commons area in here, which I'll show later in the more detailed plan. The front entrance with the new theater and main lobby entrance will be improved. So this area here will be a wider corridor. There'll be natural light kind of infused into the kind of the core of the building. This will become, an area that is an appropriate transition and sequence from the entry of the building into what is kind of the core and the hub of the school. Secondly, what we're going to be providing is a secondary connector link. So we're going to be doubling the ability and capacity of for the students to be able to move from the south portion of the school to the north portion of the school. And where this is going to happen is we're going to create this connector link, which will be located on the second floor. So from the second floor addition area over the existing area where the kitchen, the loading dock, and we're going to drop down in the back here by the gymnasium. So that will create a connector on the upper portion for increased capacity. So now we'll have two ways to get circulation of students back and forth as opposed to just the singular circulation path here. And then one of the other things that we're addressing with this proposal is the idea of creating these collaboration nodes. So in any renovation or school expansion, we want to be able to provide state-of-the-art classrooms, state-of-the-art labs. We want to be able to provide those, structured learning spaces that are expected so the students can learn appropriately. But what this diagram is showing is how we intend to create these informal collaborative nodes within the school. So, and that's really important that, that the students be able to have those spaces that they can gather, they can, do assignments, they can collaborate with each other, they can socialize. And so to orient, this being the main entrance coming in, currently the media center is here, this area will be converted into a student commons area. So we're going to be creating kind of in the hub, in the core, this student collaboration node. Secondly, off of the existing cafeteria into the courtyard, there's going to be, as part of the connector, there's going to be this space in between the cafeteria and the new courtyard space. So that's going to become a new node. Within the new classroom wing addition, there'll be a new node connecting here at this intersection of the existing school and the eastern edge of this classroom wing. And then finally, the fourth node will be up here in this corner where the new media center will be located. So we feel these are important, these are critical aspects to any school beyond just the structured spaces. These spaces become equally as important and critical within the design. So here's the first floor plan. So we've color-coded the diagram and the proposed plan into basically three different colors. We've got the salmon color, which is the theater and main entry, auditorium and main entry. We've got the brown color, which is the classroom wing. We've got the orange color, which is the courtyard wing. And then the blue represents the circulation paths, and the darker blue are the new circulation within the new additions. So the most visual impact to the school is going to, with no doubt, be the new auditorium in the main entry. So what's proposed is a 1,500 seat auditorium. As in that auditorium is going to really set itself apart to create the new identity for the J.P. Stevens School, the new vision, the new focal point as you come down the drive, Hawk Drive. And in conjunction with a new entrance and lobby and renovated and expanded administration and security vestibule component will be proposed here. The pink spaces are renovated, so these are existing school spaces that'll be renovated. We've got renovated areas here for administration. We've got the media center being renovated to become a new student commons for kind of an expansion overflow from the cafeteria. And as I mentioned, this whole hallway area here, which is really that pinch point connection, will be modified and expanded and made open, and even to the point where, potentially that this space, there was not necessarily technically a wall here, but there's the opportunity that space they coexist together, and they're more open to create that relief for that point of the hallway. The second portion of the expansion is the largest portion of that, which is the classroom wing. So the classroom wing is composed of there'll be new orchestra room. There'll be, as part of the addition, there'll be new music room as a renovation. There'll be classrooms, science labs, specialty labs, new media center. There'll be new fitness center, locker rooms associated with the new gymnasium. So this is this L-shaped configuration is at least 2 stories, and as we get farther on, we'll show you some options to show how we can, different ways that we can increase the capacity. But basically the first and second floor are continuous, or stacked program components. And we're creating a new entry, which is currently the student lot located over here. So, there's the possibility that we have, now we have really two not main entrances, but appropriate entrances that enter into the building so that not everyone's coming in at one location. And then finally, we have the courtyard wing, which is really composed of science labs and classrooms, a 2-story configuration that's going to close in the existing what's open courtyard. And in that courtyard, there's the greenhouse. That greenhouse will be relocated in these options, and this will become a new, really outdoor kind of extension of the lunch and learning commons and an area where students can collaborate and have connectivity to that cafeteria. So this area in here is that kind of expansion of that collaboration zone. Here's the proposed second floor. Again, in the front is the salmon. That's the theater. This is the second. So the auditorium will have a mezzanine. It will have a proper stage. It will have a fly loft. So it'll be designed and outfitted with current day scale of and appropriate proportions so that it can be used for proper productions that the school holds and runs on a yearly basis. The classroom wing, as you can see, we're kind of just stacking the classrooms, stacking science labs. And here we've got the upper media center and pretty efficient double loaded corridor plan. And again, we have the second level, which is science labs and classrooms. And as I mentioned before about that link, so here's where we're, that opportunity that we've really, in looking at the school and looking at the drawings and talking with the principal and the staff is, this location seemed to really work really appropriately and well, that we'll be able to connect from that second floor across, coming over, and then we'll drop a new stair, and then that'll come down into that hallway space between the gymnasiums in the back there. And so this plan is the third floor plan. So as I mentioned a little earlier, that we explored some different options on how we can look at the size and the scale of the proposed school expansion. So we've got here from left to right. On the left is option 1, the middle is option 2, and on the right is option 3. And so basically each different option yields a different different number of classrooms and spaces, and with that we can start to look at what the possible total capacity would be. And the left, which is basically the classroom wing, is really what the differentiator is here. As you can see, these are the same as those brown L shapes that we were looking at before. So the option 1 is only 2-story scheme. So in that 2-story scheme, with including the corridor wing, would be 30 classrooms. Option 2 would entail having a portion, third floor, on that classroom wing, and that would yield 37 classrooms, and then a full build-out on the third floor would yield 48 classrooms in that scenario. And with each one of these options, compared to the size and the scale of the existing school building, so the existing school is about 220,000 square feet. What option 1 would increase along with what we showed previously on the first and second floor, option 1 on the left there would be an increase of about 75% of the building area. Option 2 in the middle there would be about an 84% increase of the total school area, and option 3 on the right there, which is the largest option with the 48 classrooms, would nearly almost double the size of the school to be, about 91% increase in the area. So, so just as a point of perspective in terms of what the different options are. Just to hit on a couple items in terms of the spaces that are going to be provided in the school building. So in addition to the classrooms, there's going to be science labs. So all these will be state of the art, with the most current technologies and ways of learning and teaching methodologies. And the science labs, there'll be specialty labs, there'll be small group instruction rooms. We'll have the media center, the orchestra room, music room, auditorium, as I mentioned, 1,500 seats, which nearly more than doubles what the current capacity is today. The gymnasium, locker rooms, fitness center, expanded student commons, and new and renovated administrative and staff offices. Okay, so. Oh, there we go. The hand from above. So here we've prepared a little animation and fly through of what the proposed project could be envisioned as. So here we're moving from south to north. In the middle here is kind of what the new focal point of the school will be as you come up Hawk Drive there. It'll be the new auditorium and the main entrance. As you can see in the back, we've got the fields, the baseball field, the new lacrosse field, and the tennis courts. As we move around, you can see in the foreground now it's coming on. Now this scheme is with option 2 scheme, which has a 3-story classroom bar here and 2-story here. Kind of at the intersection of that, you can see the new media center, and that becomes a focal point, an identity kind of marker for the new classroom wing. And here we're looking, moving along the fields over the lacrosse field, and in the foreground there, you see that's the new science labs. This is the new courtyard, which will be enclosed as part of that courtyard wing. And here's a view, still view of that, of the courtyard, and shows the indoor-outdoor spaces. And here we're going to get a little closer and look at that classroom wing. The bump-out portions, these areas are the specialized classrooms as they bump out here. As you can see on the left side here, that is the new media center. So it's kind of a higher volume space, interior furniture, a very collaborative kind of lounge, movable type of interior for that space. And you can see the main entrance on the left. And then here we're moving in dropping down towards the entrance drive. And you can see really how we've articulated and utilized the new theater as the focal point, using different combination of materials, and the new entry on the left. So kind of using the scale of the elements to define your destination. Okay, so I'm just going to recap some of the images just so we can get them in focus a little bit, because I know that was a lot and it was very exciting. So here, this is basically what that new focal point is. So as part of this project, in addition to providing the needed classrooms and needed space, we also want to, as part of that, create an identity and create a focal point and create this as a destination. So, these spaces, we're going to be creating a new, auditorium, a new entrance. So we want to really, how do we re-envision the school to kind of have that new sense of place? This is the auditorium. We've got the lower lobby, and then there's an upper lobby. We've got the new main entrance here with the canopy, and that's the element that kind of protrudes and slices down into the core of the building. So we've also got a couple examples of kind of what happens and what could happen on the interior. So here are some examples of some projects. So here, this is a main entry sequence. So you can envision coming in the main entrance, coming in the main entrance here, element that this hallway corridor, light-filled, translucent skylight above. As you head into the core of the building, there's no windows, opportunity to bring a lot of natural light and make the spaces feel welcoming, and a space where students can enjoy spending their hours during the day. Durable materials, terrazzo floor, dynamic, exciting kind of finishes and patterns, and things that kind of stimulate the senses. And here's an example of what the auditorium might look like. As you can see, the lower seating bowl, you have the upper mezzanine area, lighting, acoustical treatments, the stage over here. And then we move kind of back to that classroom wing, and this view is showing kind of how the media center as an element, kind of, as I mentioned, we identified as one of those nodes, and kind of, so those nodes should somehow kind of, pop out and kind of identify themselves and, see and be seen, so the idea that this space is one of those spaces kind of focuses itself out towards the back, towards the open field space, and flanked by the two classroom wing bars here and the new secondary entrance. And here's an example of what the interior of that space could be. The idea, you can see the colors, the type of seating, the flexibility. Those are the kind of elements that need to be incorporated into current day media center. That it's a space, really, it's a collaborating space. It's not the library that we all remember of old days past. Specialty labs, state-of-the-art technology, whatever is out and what's most current, how the students, different ways of learning and teaching. This project we did, this happens to be an anatomical screen, and you can actually dissect on this screen digitally. It's actually a really amazing piece of equipment. Gymnasium, how do we make that gymnasium become a space that's a flexible, usable space for as many purposes as can be? So we've got, it'll have a full-size court, and it'll have drop-down partitions, so you can break the space up into two. It'll have collapsible seating so that it can be used for multiple types of events. And the greenhouse, as I mentioned, the greenhouse would be removed in that option when enclosing the courtyard, so the courtyard would become smaller in order for us to program it most appropriately. So the greenhouse would be located up on option 2 and 3, up on the roof of the school. And then the courtyard. So this space is really an interesting dynamic kind of idea of, how do we take the courtyard and actually make it usable? So part of the design is not just to use a courtyard as bringing air and light into the interior for the classrooms, but now an opportunity to kind of create an inside-outside relationship where, students can come and collaborate and gather and socialize, either in that new interstitial space which is adjacent and within that on the edge of the hallway, or on the exterior in different types of seating configurations. And then this is an example of what the inside space could be. So that big wall that we've seen, bringing a lot of natural light, color, dynamic furniture, just a space where anybody would want to be, and that stimulates the mind. And so that concludes our presentation for the expansion and renovation of the J.P. Stevens High School. I'll just leave you with some of those final images there.
Board members, if you guys have any comments, let's just leave the screen as is, so in case they need to go back and forth on the screen. So any board members, if you have any comments and questions, you can come over here and ask those. Go ahead.
So can you go over where are the bathrooms located and on each of the options and plans on the floors? And second thing is the elevators.
Yes. The good news is we will have bathrooms, so. And there will be an elevator. Bear with me 1 second here. Okay. So I realize it's a little hard to see, and maybe your eyes are better than mine. Within each wing, with the exception of the first floor here, because these are the locker rooms and the fitness center, each classroom wing, along with the actual classrooms and specialty labs, has a bathroom core associated with it. So in here, it's in that location. On the ground floor, the elevator will be located here. So that elevator will provide access to...
Second elevator for auditorium.
The auditorium will also have an elevator to the mezzanine level, which will be located in this location currently. And it has, so basically the auditorium is a kind of self-sufficient building component. It's going to have its own stairs. It's going to have its own elevator just because of the location. And that's what really works out most optimally. The elevator, yes, the elevators will be ADA compliant. They'll be stretcher compliant also. And just to follow up, there will be bathrooms associated here which really are to support the auditorium. So they'll be located here. So when there's events, the whole school doesn't have to be open and access. There can be, you come into the vestibule and then you come into the pre-function space located along here. The bathrooms will be located here. The box office will be located there. So in which case, basically the school can be closed off and not open. Where are the maintenance rooms?
Maintenance rooms because I'm assuming there will be just for new ventilation.
So mechanical rooms primarily, there's areas here where we've allocated spaces for mechanical, but most of the mechanical in the school is going to be either in the ceiling or it's going to be on the roof.
Because when we do the new construction, I'm assuming we do the latest HVAC and.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let him ask.
Yeah, so when we do the new construction, I'm assuming we do the latest HVAC and all the ventilation systems. So I'm assuming some kind of rooms, proper maintenance rooms for that. So that's.
Yes, those will be incorporated. But as I was mentioning, most of the mechanical equipment is on the roof or located in the ceilings.
And also the lighting would be the LED lighting, which is, the lighting would be like LED lighting. So current issue what we saw in the school was the lighting was not sufficient. So we are really trying to improve that lighting throughout the school. So not only in the new addition and the renovation area, but throughout the school.
New wings will have air conditioning.
Yes.
It'll be the building will be heated and it will have air conditioning. The new spaces.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and I don't think your maps really explained. That's why I don't need the map. My first question is, how many parking spaces does JP Stevens have right now?
What's that? 500. 580. Right? About 580.
580. So now you are adding about 160 more parking spaces. So 580 plus 160 is about, what, 740? Now, based on the three options, you said that the building area would increase by 75%, 84%, and 91%. I don't think the parking area, even now it's a nightmare. I don't know if you've ever been to JP Stevens in the morning. I would recommend if you can come here between, say, 6:50 and 7:40. Just drive around the area and see how bad it is. Now, when you showed the map, I also did not see any additional, entry exit points for the cars, and parents who have children going here would tell you that right now, if you actually have to drop your kid to JP, it takes 40 minutes. Right now, when you come in the evening, it's probably 5 minutes away, but in the mornings, it's a lot of congestion. And so how do you intend to fix the traffic issues which is outside JP, like the Grove Avenue, and what's the other road on the other side that comes in, which is the student entrance? How do you plan to address those?
Floyd? So to be completely honest, there's limited that we can actually do to improve the off-site road network. I mean, that's public right away and all private property. We had considered or looked at, possibility of extending in through one of the side streets, but there's environmental issues along the ditch and the swale there. So we've really been focusing on how we can improve the circulation and improve the on-site conditions. So one way to improve that is, is with the parking. We realize that the parking is an issue, so we've maximized the parking on site and increasing 160 spaces. The circulation on the site, I do realize and I do understand the logistics of the drop-off and the pickup scenario. So we're hoping that we'll be able to use additional capacity on other areas with the new wing to be able to do drop-off and pickup on other sides as opposed to maybe just not the front. So utilizing more of the site as opposed to maybe just only the front.
So my other question is, like you mentioned that there are 2,654 students. So I would imagine that you would have at least 2,000 parents if, their siblings in the school. So if there are 2,000 people coming in on a back-to-school night, and there are only 700 parking spaces, plus you need parking spaces for the teachers and, the administrative staff. So how do we fix that issue, which is a really big issue? It's a nightmare every day for people who have to come into the school. My second question, going along the same, is that when the students are in school, how do you plan to expand the hallway? I mean, students will be in school, right, when the construction is going on. So how are you going to address the additional congestion that's going to happen? Because now students are in school and all this construction is happening and already it's all congested. How do you plan to address all of that? And the safety issues that come along with it?
So to address your question as it relates to the phasing of the construction, that's something that we will develop, and we've thought about how that could proceed in a phased environment. The drawings and the documents would be prepared such that the contractor would know that certain work would have to be done at certain times in certain areas. There's many different ways. I mean, we've done many complicated projects that have phasing, that the buildings are occupied and utilized. Logistically, it's, as with any construction project, when you have an occupied building, it's a little more challenging, but it's not something that can't be overcome, and we've done these kinds of projects before. But this school, it obviously is, during construction, will be the same, or maybe there'll be some challenges during construction, but when it's done after that time period is, when you see the fruits of the labor. It takes a little bit of, the inconvenience during a project where you're working, in an occupied environment. So we don't see any challenge. I mean, we don't see any problem in accomplishing it and that it can be done. There's the, actually the area where we're talking about widening, you can actually still come from the other direction and get by that particular area in front of the cafeteria. In terms of the connector, the connector link could be constructed prior to the work in the hallway coming online. So you basically use that as your circulation.
You also showed in your map that now there will be two exits, one on the side and one in the front. Have you also thought about buses? Because if students are coming out of two different exits, and if they have to go into the same bus because they live in the same neighborhood, because right now one of the problems is that students who have lockers upstairs, and if they have a class downstairs, they're almost guaranteed to miss their bus. So some of the students don't utilize the lockers because they don't have time to go pick up their bag or go pick up their coats or do any of those things. So what is your plan for that? For the extra space, and how do students navigate the extra time that it would take?
That's a scheduling issue. That's administrative issue, not.
I mean, it's also an issue of, the length of the hallway that some students might have to go or walk, right? Some students might have a short walk, some students might have a long walk. Excuse me, just 1 minute. Mr. Mohan Patel, I would appreciate if you keep your hand gestures to yourself. Right now, it's my time to talk. These are not politically motivated questions. These are genuine questions. We need answers for it so that if you ask these questions early on, then one can devise solutions.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide as much information as I could provide you, too. So, I mean, your question is an operation administration type question. There's plenty of large schools out there, larger than this school even, and it's really, we're providing adequate access points. We're providing acceptable and adequate ways of navigating to and from each one of the spaces and to other parts of the building. So we don't think that or see that there's going to be a functionality issue. The issue of time and being able to get from point A to point B is, unfortunately, that's not something I can give you an answer on.
Okay, can you also give me, and this probably is my last and final question, the amount of dollars it would cost for option 1, option 2, option 3, and also the time it would take for all those 3 options to materialize?
Sure. So we presented 3 options. The first option where there was no third floor. It was 167,000 square feet addition.
167,000?
Square feet addition to that.
Okay. So this is 220,000 plus 167,000.
Correct. So that option, and that includes actually additional 25,000 square feet of renovation of the existing building. So total 192,000 square feet of addition and renovation combined is about $72 to $78 million construction cost. It's a range right now because of the plans have not been fully developed, and we have to go through the design to make sure all the program and what the school needs is included. The second option where we had the 2.5 story, which was about 185,000 square feet of new addition and same 25,000 square feet of renovation, total 210,000 square feet. That option is range is $80 to $85 million construction cost. And then the last option where we have 201,000 square feet addition, which is a full 3-story building, and 25,000 square feet of renovation, is about $88 to $95 million construction cost. So that's the range what we expect this to come at. In terms of construction timeline, as Kurt had mentioned, the project will have to be done in phases because the students will be using the building. So we are expecting somewhere about 3.5 to 4 year total construction timeline. So because it will have to be done in phases, and we can move the students from the existing to the new space so that the existing space can be available for the renovation. So that would be the approach we would be taking. That's the reason construction time will be a little bit longer, but it will have to be done this way because the school is not fully available for construction.
So for all 3 options, it's actual time 3.5 to 4 years of actual work, but it could take longer because it will be done in phases, if I understand correctly.
No, total, I'm giving you the total time including the phasing time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
total time would be about 3.5 to 4 years.
Correct.
So if you start, say, next year, then it's going to take another approximately.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to, I just had a simple question as to, you stipulated it was a construction cost.
Correct.
Does that include the soft costs over and above the actual construction?
No, this is the construction cost number.
Okay, so
there
soft
are-
costs would be over and above.
Correct.
Now, would that change with each addition, or is that basically the same for the three?
Fractionally, it will change because, there is more design and, but there is, the soft cost is not only design, there is other soft costs like a legal bonding and like a furniture and some other stuff which you'll be buying on your own.
So do you have an estimate of the soft costs for each of the options, is what my question
We
is?
can develop it. I have not developed it to that full extent, but it's roughly about 15 to 20% additional.
So it's another
Yeah.
15% of each?
Yeah, about 15%.
Okay.
I'm giving you a rough estimate.
Can I just ask one more?
Sure.
Is it possible to get a copy of the PowerPoint?
Dr. Bragan has it. He can provide it to you.
Okay, so just for future reference, I think it's very helpful if, we can get a hard copy in advance. It just,
Sure, we
Yeah.
will do that. We were working it till 11th hour, but trust me, that's how we couldn't
okay,
send it out.
and then just one more thing that came to my mind. You mentioned that there would be classroom, addition of classrooms, orchestra, music, science lab, specialty lab, Rex, media center, fitness center, locker room in the gymnasium, the auditorium. Is there also, will there also be some staff room, like a staff lunch room or meeting room or something like that?
Yes, I did neglect to say, there are staff and faculty lounge and office spaces.
And that would be renovated, or would
No,
that be new?
Those are actually, well, the staff areas for the teachers are part of the new work. But they're also, we'll be renovating what the existing administration areas and the nurse and all those areas. So those are also, they'll be new, they're just going to be in the existing building.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis, again. He's here.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. All right, thank you, guys. So let's,
I'm sorry.
let's go through the regular agenda. Then we'll go through what's up is public comments on these resolutions. You have the agenda items, the public comments on the resolutions only. Anybody on the resolutions? See none, we're gonna move on. All right, so let's gonna vote on these resolutions. First, the personnel item. Can I have a motion on that, just personnel?
Motion.
Okay, do I have a second? Mrs. White? Yes? You already missed it.
We're going to the vote next time.
Come. All right, so Mohan and Mrs. White. Yeah, you can come.
South Edison. Settlement agreement, D and E. I would like to know about it. I would like to know about these. You only have the student number on here. Why is there no legal numbers on here so I can trace back this lawsuit? Is this a lawsuit because for the kids assaulting each other all the time?
What are the other questions? You know the drill.
No, I'd like to know if...
You know the drill.
Do we have a
Questions?
problem? Do we have a problem here in Edison where kids are always assaulting each other? Is it being investigated? Is it causing the district to receive lawsuits? What are these two lawsuits for? I don't want to know the student's name. You can tell me what the settlement's for, though. Certainly.
Other questions?
You're not going to answer them at the end anyway.
No, we're gonna answer. Just answer.
You never answer them.
Ask all your
Not mine.
questions.
You never answer them. For the curriculum, I have a curriculum question. In the past, I asked if here in this township, if we have the critical race theory.
It's not part of the resolution, sir.
I see curriculum in the
The
resolution.
curriculum is for the field trip and professional development only. Those are the two resolutions. You can comment on those.
I tried to expand it for all curriculum.
Well, you can come do the open comments. You can do that.
Okay. Approval of minutes, October 2021. Dr. Bragan, what are these minutes? Are these minutes being approved for that board meeting that Sheepy had? Community relations meeting? Are these the minutes that are being approved? Because I want to open request those. I want to open request those minutes. I believe board members who were present at that meeting were trying to remove people's speaking time. You yourself wanted to take credit. You said, oh, you want to take the blame for everything. You yourself cannot always take the blame for these tyrants. At some point, you just got to let them fly, you know? And why don't you tell us who exactly in that meeting, Dr. Bragan, wanted to reduce people's speaking times to 3 minutes? Don't you think?
That's not part of the meeting minutes.
Okay.
The policy.
Well, I'm
is-
talking about the meeting minutes of that meeting, so I now made it become part of this resolution. It's part of the resolution, because it's the meeting minutes of that exact meeting. Lawyer, should I skip that, or could I continue on? The lawyer could have stopped me. Why are you stopping me? You didn't even get orders from the lawyer to stop me. Why are you stopping me, Jerry?
Ask your question, sir.
All right. See, there you go. Now I can't even remember, which is your campaign strategy, Northgrave strategy. Basically, what I was saying is, you know, I want to know, Dr. Bragan, you can't cover up for these people. I've been in this town all my life. Damn right, I want to know if someone came from here, from the North Pole, from some other country, and then wants to remove my time that I've been here all my life so they can cover up for their friends. I really like to know that, you know? And it's always the same bunch of people. And even if these group of people, they're always against each other, they will be united
Crystal,
to silence
Crystal.
the real members of the public.
That's not in this minutes.
It-
If you're
All right.
talking about the meeting
All right,
on Thursday.
I'm going to open request those meeting minutes, and I hope you don't hide anything that's within there. If Shivi says, I want to remove the speaking time to 3 minutes, I want to know that. I want to read that. I don't want it blacked out or none of that. I don't want you to cover up anymore. And I shouldn't have to open request those meeting minutes, Dr. Bragan. You should this is a public meeting, where if I can get that information through an open request, you should tell me right up there, who were the members that you felt wanted you to reduce people's speaking time? Did you just go about it yourself? And even you yourself, Dr. Bragan, I'm here from Edison, your Keyport, Hazlet area. I don't even appreciate you making up excuses to reduce our speaking time for these people. For what? So we can't come up here and say,
Crystal, it's not in this minutes.
It became part of this minutes when you're trying to approve the minutes.
That minutes is for last month's meeting. Well,
If she
you're
doesn't
talk-
want people to speak at the community relations meeting, she should wait for people to ask questions at a transportation meeting, or you should extend these public meetings and tell people they can come in here and ask their damn questions, Jerry.
Thank you.
You can't just kick people out of the meeting.
All right, do we have any other public comments on the resolutions? Yeah, you want to respond to that? Yes.
Just, Crystal, on one of those issues, you know,
Settlement.
the two settlement cases are due process cases for students with special needs that sued for placement decisions, and that happens, you know, every now and again in the district. We can't discuss specifics about those, but they were reviewed in closed session with the Board of Education, and who agreed to the recommendations of the attorneys to settle that case. Regarding the OPA request, Crystal, you know this. Anytime you've given an OPA request, I've given you everything that you've asked for. And I try to do it in a fast manner so you get the information as quickly as possible. If you OPA request anything else, I'll do the same.
Okay, Tony.
Tony DiPasquale, 2 Pine Street. On the appointment of the special board counsel, so my question is, if any board member up on the stage there needs a special counsel for an ethics violation, does there need to be a resolution? Like, I'm just trying to confirm here, for any board member up there, again, who has a special counsel to defend them, is a resolution by the board needed every single time for every board member?
Any other questions? That's
That's
it? Okay. Yeah, Dr. Reagan, can you start first, and then we'll have the attorney do this, follow-up.
Sure. Just some understanding on that. When, you know, our board members are protected here, should they have any litigation, and they're expected to have coverage by attorneys. And when somebody files suit, whether that's a parent in the community or a due process case, or somebody files another suit, we have insurance for protection so that the Board of Ed doesn't bear the full brunt of those legal costs. And on occasion, there's a panel of attorneys that are represented under the Assurance Council, and if a board member or myself requested a different attorney, we have to ask if they would accept the rates that are on the insurance panel, and if they do accept those rates, we can have them approved as an Insurance Council panel member, and I believe that's what this resolution is. Mr. Rupp, if you want to elaborate if I missed anything there.
Very briefly, the board members are entitled to representation. Representation has been provided through the Joint Insurance Fund in this case, and there was a request for special counsel. Special counsel has agreed to the same rates, therefore there's no financial impact one way or the other.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nobody else, can I have a rebuttal on my question?
No.
You always
No.
do rebuttals with other people.
No.
Because you didn't answer the question. My question was, is there a resolution every time a special counsel needs to be done for a board member? You have not answered my question. That's the question I'm asking,
Okay.
and I need to know from somebody up on the stage, is there a resolution needed every time a special counsel is appointed to a board member? I don't understand why that question cannot be answered. Can somebody answer that?
That was addressed, but we'll repeat it again. Yeah,
You didn't answer the question. Is a resolution
Yeah, well,
needed
well,
every time?
Okay.
If the attorney requested from the board member to represent them is not identified as being listed with the Insurance Council's list of attorneys or panel of attorneys, and they request them to be added to that list, it does require a resolution. That is the answer.
Okay, I'll ask my other question, because then the lawyer is not covered by the insurance, is what you're saying, then.
That is not what I'm saying. It is covered by insurance.
But it's not on their list of lawyers that they use, is what
They
you're
have a
saying.
panel. I don't know how they come up with that panel, but if you request someone that's outside the panel, they can be agreed to put on the panel. That's why the resolution is there.
Okay.
Can I ask a question as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my question is that if this is not approved today, will the New Jersey Insurance Group still cover the
Yes.
cost of the lawyer?
Yeah, I think we're not approving we're just approving that particular attorney.
So then, in the resolution, can we add that language that, that this is because the insurance group require, the attorney that is being requested is not, for that you need the board approval, some language that kind of reflects that, because it's not clear right now.
Can you repeat the question? So, yeah, good.
So right now, the resolution does not mention that, see, what I understand is that the New Jersey statute of indemnification protects board members from incurring any legal fee should they get into trouble related to board matters. Now, so from that perspective, I did not think that this even required a board approval. This should have just gone through because we have such a policy. So the fact that we are seeing this as a resolution, it's just more transparent to just kind of say that to cover such and such attorney. That's not clear. It says that appoints this attorney, but it doesn't say that is not covered by the insurance policy.
But, I mean, I'll talk to the board attorney about what it should say, but it says the firm shall be paid by the New Jersey School Insurance Group at their customary hourly rate for reimbursement for costs.
No, I get that, but like what you just explained, that the reason why this is...
because he wasn't on the original
Yeah, it's
panel?
not, that the reason why this is, the resolution is here is because the attorney is not one of the approved attorneys or on the roster of the New Jersey School Insurance Group. If that language can be added in this resolution, that is the reason why this resolution is being presented to the board.
Okay, any board member may move to amend a resolution to add provisions to it and second it, and then there would be a vote on the amendment. It's not necessary, however, in the resolution to specify those factual circumstances.
Another thing that I wanted to mention, is there a cap on the amount that would be spent on the lawyer, cap in terms of the number of hours or the total amount, and what is the deductible?
I'd have to look at the policy, but the deductible is standard of $5,000, I believe.
Right. And this is being covered by the JIF, and therefore, there's no technical limitation on the hours.
After the deductible?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question. Regarding this, when a board member has an ethics complaint against them, do you have to get approval from anyone as to deem it a board item? Like, I don't know the specifics about this one. I have a generalization of what it is, but if it's not directly tied to the Board of Education's function, does it matter as long as a Board of Education member is being charged with an ethics complaint? Like, for instance, if I went out and got in a car accident, and I just turned around and I introduced myself and who I was, and that somebody filed an ethics complaint against me for that, do I have to get approval from somebody for coverage, is what I'm asking.
To the extent that a board member is sued as a result of being a board member, and the ethics law applies to board members, right? You would not need a resolution for coverage. In this case, the resolution is because the attorney providing that coverage is not listed routinely as part of the insurance list of attorneys.
No, what I'm asking is, do you have to get approval from someone that says, yes, we deem this, that it should be covered?
Okay. On an ethics complaint, it's by definition has to be covered.
Once it's called an ethics complaint, that's what I was asking.
Because otherwise, if you had an
So it doesn't
automobile
matter what you
accident,
do.
for example, as a private citizen, it would never come before the board.
Just on that, if I might add, Mr. Rupp, when we get a complaint or a charge against any board member, we refer to the New Jersey Insurance Group, and they determine whether it warrants coverage or not.
That's
They make
what I
that
was asking.
determination.
Thank you.
So if, in that example, I believe, Mrs. Conway, if there was like an automobile accident, I think they would say that doesn't meet the criteria under the policy. I believe.
Yeah, go ahead, comment.
I completely forgot this was in there. I read it and I forgot. Thank you, Tony. I would have spent more time talking on this one. Jerry, you said when you endorsed Mahesh Bhagia that you did not endorse him as a board member. You endorsed him as a private citizen. So you trying to get this lawyer now through here, is that an admission of guilt that you did it? Because you can only use, he just said you can only use the lawyer as a board member. Are you admitting that you endorsed him as a board member and not a private citizen?
Other questions?
Yeah, I would like everybody to vote no. We're not going to do Jerry any special favors. If you want someone, let him get it from the pool. A pool means there's a whole bunch of people. It's not just 1, 2, or 3. It's probably like 5, 10, 15. You couldn't find anyone through there, Jerry? You wanted to get one of your friends paid? That's what it's about. So, yeah. And Jerry, you said that you're not guilty of this. If you're not guilty of this, then what's the need of the lawyer? Why can't you just represent yourself pro se on this matter? Did you commit an ethics violation? Okay. I put my own ethics on him. I don't know why he hasn't. Maybe his is a little bit more. Mine's newer. So, would you like to represent yourself, Jerry, instead of using the county slush fund? I know what the GIF is. Lawyers, the GIF, every time the cops beat the crap out of a 16-year-old teenager, that they're like, okay, we're going to find the cop innocent. We're going to
Crystal, it's not part of this
I'm asking what the
resolution.
GIF is. I'm
It's
asking
not-
what the GIF is. Is the GIF not part of this?
Joint
resolution?
Insurance Fund, that's what GIF stands for?
Joint Insurance Fund?
Correct.
So that's where
That's insurance.
basically Mayor Ryman's piggy bank. That's where everyone in the county goes. It's all right. I'm getting some money out of the GIF too. So because you guys always screw up. 32 seconds. Absolutely disgraceful, Jerry. Endorsing Mahesh. What kind of stuff is that to endorse a party boss? This is supposed to be apolitical. Did you endorse him as a private citizen? If you endorsed him as a private citizen, then you shouldn't need to be represented in this matter. Is that correct, lawyer? If and he said publicly that he endorsed Mahesh Bhagia.
Time's up.
Time's up.
Yeah, you can go on, answer the- Yeah.
Yeah, on the specifics, that's not something that would be appropriate to be addressed at a public portion of a meeting. Suffice to say that board members are entitled to receive counsel where there is an allegation, whether that allegation is false or correct, that a board member committed an ethics violation. So just because one uses the GIF is not an indication whether one agrees with those charges. It's merely that the complaining party so alleged.
Okay. So now let's go back. No more public comments on the resolutions? Right, so we have a motion on the personnel agenda.
Motion.
Mohan and Mrs. White, right? You could record that?
Okay, for
Yeah, roll call. Personnel agenda item.
for personnel report, Mr. Burrell Patel,
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Madiker?
Since the wording of the resolution was not changed, I will vote no on,
We're talking about personnel
oh,
reports.
sorry, yes.
Ms. Podolsky?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried.
Okay. So now let's move up to the administration, curriculum instruction, pupil services. So item 2, 3, 4. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Okay. Do I have a second? Okay, Dr. Chen. Sorry.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Wait. Okay. All right.
Going for a roll call.
Yeah, let's go for a roll call.
Roll.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
I'm going to abstain on 2F. Everything else, yes.
Ms. White?
Okay, everything yes. On F, I think we need to discuss it a little bit further.
And Ms. Madiker?
Everything yes. I would like to, discuss further F. Except for F, everything yes.
Ms. Podolsky?
I'd like to abstain on F also, because I don't quite get this whole conversation. We're like talking at mixed purposes, but yes on everything else.
Okay. Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Conway?
Yes on everything, but 2F is no.
That's a no. Okay. Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
And Mr. Shi?
I have to abstain because it involved me. On the 2F, everything else, yes.
You're abstaining?
Mhm.
Okay. So on everything else besides 2F,
So should I?
motion is carried. For 2F, we have 5 abstains and 1 no.
That's only 6.
3 yes.
Can we table the 2F? A resolution to table the 2F?
Or a motion to table? Would that be up to?
You can have a motion to table, you can have a motion to amend, whatever you guys want to do.
So we'll.
You want to
because
amend it?
Right now,
You
the
want-
motion is going through because there is
It
3.
didn't go through.
Sorry?
It did not go through.
Or did not go through, okay.
Okay, so what, you want to amend or you want, whatever you want to do, so, but it didn't go through, so. Okay. So next is the finance resolution. Can I have a motion on that?
Motion.
Second? Dr. Chen? Mohan and Dr. Chen. Yeah, roll call, please.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Madiker?
Yes.
Ms. Podolsky?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Ms. Conway?
Yes.
Ms. Peng?
Yes.
Mr. Mohan Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried.
All right, so committee reports, we have a lot of them. So first one, the community relations.
Just 1 second. Okay, got it. So the Community Relations Committee met on Monday, November 15th at 7 p.m. In attendance were Dr. Bragan, Dr. Alderelli, Mr. Cohen, the new transportation supervisor, Virginia White, Elizabeth Conway, Carol Badowski, and Shivi Madhukar. The meeting was held via Zoom. Mr. Cohen, the new transportation supervisor, who joined the district on October 21st, 2021, was a special guest at the meeting. Given a multitude of transportation issues overwhelming the district since the start of the school year, the committee felt it would be good to invite him for this meeting. Many residents brought their transportation-related concerns to the committee. There was a healthy discussion on the issues persisting. Some residents brought suggestions and concerns, and there were others who spoke about issues with traffic in the neighborhoods around the schools and the bus stops. For instance, there are major traffic-related issues at Jackson Avenue near Herbert Hoover Middle School during arrival and dismissal times. Some of the key issues raised included buses being habitually late, students being marked absent because the bus came late, schools not opening their doors in the morning after buses have arrived, and safety concerns when cars fail to stop for buses and when buses stop across the road rather than stopping at their regular stops. Many transportation-related suggestions were discussed as well. This included asking students to apply for busing before school closing for the summer, mailing out bus passes earlier so that errors can be resolved well before school opening, sending text messages to parents in advance when buses are running late, investing time to discuss dedicated and safe bike lanes to relieve congestion. Most importantly, the committee discussed investing in a traffic study because traffic circulation around some schools is completely broken. Hiring professional consultants who could give guidance on how to make traffic more efficient so people do not have to waste time sitting in the traffic was discussed. The transportation supervisor provided many answers and promised to look into all other concerns. Overall, it gave him a first-hand look at transportation issues affecting the district. The committee hopes that this will help the department become proactive and avert transportation-related issues next year. Jerry, can I just mention something else about this committee? Thanks. So I just want to mention that the committees of the Board of Education do not typically need to be open to the public, but the chair of the committee can make the determination of opening to the public. So in the case of Community Relations Committee, the chair of the committee as well as the committee members decided that it would be good to open this committee to the public so that we could hear firsthand from people the issues they're having. So the regular Board of Education rules for public meeting do not apply to committee meetings. And it's kind of a more informal setup where people can come and speak. There's no kind of fixed time limit that you can speak for 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 10 minutes. It's like anybody wanting to come and speak can speak. And what we do is, because there is only 1 hour that we have, and we look at the number of people who want to speak, we quickly want to get through everybody because we have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. So we need to stop the meeting at 8 o'clock. So the committee does not try and stop anybody from speaking. We just kind of get the gist of the issue you were talking about, and then we move on to the next person. That's all I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. No, you don't talk. Finance facility?
Yeah, can you come back to me? I'm going to just pull it up here.
Oh, okay, all right. Can we do the special ed first?
Yeah, wait, Jerry.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Board President, the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting met on Monday, November 8th, 2021 at 4 p.m. Present was Dr. Bragan, Jerry Shee, Will Calabas, Ann Cluck, Virginia White, Elizabeth Conway, Edward Eldarelli, myself via Zoom, and Bill Rupp via phone. Financing for John P. Stevens High School. Jennifer Edwards presented from Acacia Financial, reviewed and financing options for the proposed addition at John P. Stevens High School. Key takeaways: district will expire all debt in July 2022. 2 financing options exist. One was the bond referendum, needs voter approval. Also, the district can get as much as 40% debt service aid from the state depending on the project. Typically for an addition or new construction, the debt service relief is closer to 10%. Facilities lease was another option, has to be paid within 5 years. No voter approval requires a Board of Education resolution, basically. Lease size over 20 million is unusual. A few banks may be interested in a lease of this amount, approximately 50 million, but the bid needs to be out for a few weeks for banks to appropriately bid on them. Collateral of the existing building is also an issue used to back up the lease. The district needs to ascertain the value of the existing building. Then Bill Rupp basically presented in terms of participated via phone call at 4:45 p.m. He answered questions about the Stelton Elementary School being on the Rossi and how hard it would be to remove it. He also spoke of the time frame that it would take to transfer ownership of the property, and he reported it could be as quick as 60 days with the cooperation of the planning board and the township, which we would love. It would require a township ordinance, and then it may take 2 years to get it removed from the Rossi via diversion from Green Acres. It is helpful if we have a state legislator sponsor the endeavor. The best option is if Green Acres does not consider this usage as a division. He then spoke about getting the Our Savior's Church property rezoned to use as a school. He did not think that would be too difficult to achieve with the cooperation of the township. Sundance Association, the demographic study. Dr. Bragan shared that he contacted Sundance Associates about updating the previous demographic study they completed for the district. The committee will consider their proposal once we receive others from additional New Jersey-based companies. Paving projects. Will Calabas reviewed proposed paving projects at Edison High School, J.P. Stevens, and Woodrow Wilson. The committee agreed that the Edison High School and Woodrow Wilson Middle School projects are within this year's budget allocation and decided on those schools this year. School bus purchase. There's an edit on this, so please make sure, I forgot to make that edit, but I'm going to make it here as well. It should be 30 to 54 passenger buses, not 40. Dr. Bragan also informed the committee that we received proposals to purchase 30 54-passenger school buses for the upcoming school year at an estimated cost of around $3 million. The committee agreed to move forward with this endeavor. Since we're having a great busing issue, we should have our own school buses. All right, that is it for us.
Thank you. Special ed.
That's okay. The Special Education Committee meeting was on November 17th at 1:30 p.m. The board members in attendance via Zoom were Carol Badowski, Birol Patel, and myself, Elizabeth Conway, as chairperson. The administrators in attendance were Dr. Tui, Allison Hines, Dawn Netzel, and Casey Torrey. The items that were discussed was Dr. Torrey gave us an update on all personnel, and Casey Torrey is on staff now as a long-term substitute for Nancy Sika. A replacement for Erin Madera has not been found yet. The ESPAC update, the parents were asked to fill out a Google sheet with topics they would be interested in. Behaviors in the home seem to be a very common choice of topics to be investigated. The behaviorists on staff in the district were asked to come up with an appropriate presentation to address this issue. Parents were also asked if any were interested in stepping up to a leadership role in the group, and 3 parents did step up and seem to be doing an amazing job already. Vaccination clinics. Bell's Pharmacy has stepped up to work with the district to administer Pfizer vaccines to any students interested in getting the vaccine. So far, 1,400 students, as of November 17th, have signed up to get the vaccine. The initial dates for the first vaccine were November 16th, November 17th, and 11/22. The second shot date has not been assigned as of yet. The families will be contacted. For an ESY update, in 2022, the program will be going back to 20 days. It will take place from the last week of June to the last week of July. ESY stands for Extended School Year. The state monitoring update, the district needed to address the non-compliance for the timing of referrals during the 2019-2020 school year. They were able to show compliance in the 2020 and 2021 school year and therefore were cleared. The meeting was adjourned at 1:57 p.m.
Thank you. Next up, transportation. Dr. Chen.
We had a transportation committee meeting on Monday, November 15th, at 4 p.m. at Education Center. In attendance were Dr. Bragan, Greg Cohen, Rich Benedict, Dr. Adarelli, myself, Carol Badowski, Jerry Shi, and Biro Patel. Mr. Cohen introduced himself to the committee and shared a little bit about his background that led him to this position in Edison. We look forward to working with Mr. Cohen. Dr. Bragan gave an update on the status of the students without buses and the status of the subscription busing applications. Currently, we only have a few subscription applications to process, and we look forward to completing all of these in the near future. Mr. Xi asked about the rerouting bus routes to be more efficient with the bus stops and how the routes are laid out. This will be looked at and adjusted, especially as the district prepares for bus renewal and bids for the 2022-23 school year. Another question was asked about the extracurriculum routes, which are mostly being done internally by our bus drivers. In addition, we are working with our athletic directors to coordinate games and events on a monthly basis to best prepare for their transportation needs. For the most part, these are going well with minor adjustments. Mr. Xi also asked for an update on the bus tracking implementation status. Mr. Benedict is going to locate the reader ID cards and then pilot their use with 10 of our internal buses. Mr. Benedict and Mr. Cohen assured the committee that this will be in operation by December Board of Ed meeting. A discussion ensured about our parent help desk and how we can best process open tickets with transportation and best deal with the backlog of the tickets. Moving forward, tickets will be forwarded to a specific person in charge of triaging the presented concerns and then deal with it or send it to the person who can help. Parents will also get a response with the ticket number that their transportation ticket has been submitted and received. We also discussed the communication with parents who received free busing in error and were now told that they need to pay. Initially, this information was shared while many students were still remote and they may not have paid enough attention. This school year, notice will be sent out in February to ensure everyone understands that they are either eligible or not for free transportation and offering the opportunity to apply early for subscription busing if they so desire. The district intends to buy 30 school buses for the next school year. We are requiring a commitment from the selected vendor that they guarantee delivery to the district by June 2022. We will explore the option of splitting the order up over a few different vendors if needed to ensure the timely delivery. The meeting was adjourned at 5 p.m. That's all.
Thank you very much. Upcoming meetings. We have a caucus meeting on December 16th in the Education Center. The next public meeting, the last one this year, is on Tuesday, December 21st. We're going back to Edison High School. Now we open up for board member comments. Any board members? So we're going from this way. Yes, Ginny.
Okay, with the parent help desk, I have two reports here, just to show you, please don't give up on the parent. A work in progress, and we're always improving. But this is the ticket activity from September 23rd through October 21st. The total, all departments total were 1,544. They closed 1,004, and 540 remained open. And the breakdown was for transportation, 96 total tickets, 10 were closed, 86 were open. Enrollment, 28 were received, 5 were closed, 23 were open. Food service, 3 received, 2 were closed, 1 is open. Special services was totally clear. Technology, 1,417 open, and they closed 987, and 430 remained. Then the newest one is October 22nd through November the 18th. The total was 1,094, 747 were closed, 347 remained open. Transportation had 31, they closed 1, and they had 30 open. Enrollment, 17 they received, 14 were closed, and they had 3 open. Food service had absolutely nothing. Special services as well, nothing. Technology was 1,046. They closed 732, and 314 remained open. I would say that's a major improvement over the summer, and we're just going to keep getting better, so please make use of this. This is a good tool for parents and for staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol? Carol?
Do you have anything to say? No.
Okay. Yeah.
I just have 2 items. At the community relations meeting the other night, one of the concerns by a parent was a bus stopping and putting the red lights on, but yet the children have to literally walk in front of the bus to get to the other side. By law, everyone, even coming in the opposite direction, should be stopping. But we're kind of taking it for granted that everybody follows the law. But the other day, I was on Inman Avenue, and I want to say 5 or 6 cars in front of me, there was a school bus. And it stopped with the red lights, and the children had to cross Inman Avenue. My question is, even though I know it's the law and they're not supposed to cross it, is there a way that at least busy streets can take into effect that if all the children are supposed to be crossing the street, that the bus go in the right direction? I don't know how to explain it better than that, because Inman Avenue is a county road with 40 miles per hour, the cars going. And is there some way to redirect the bus to be on the right side for the kids to get out, at least? Because honestly, it was very busy that day, and it was a little scary, because if someone didn't follow the rules, which can happen and does happen, would that hold us responsible at all, or would the whole thing be on the bus driver? But responsibility shouldn't even take place if we can fix it that the bus is opening on the right side of the road. So that's my first item. The second item is the calendar that goes out. It's called the Community Information Calendar. Does that go to every citizen or every residence in the town, or does it go just to school parents? Do we know that answer? Because I had a question about the calendar, and I was speaking to Patty, and she said, well, it was like this for many years. And I realized, I'm like, wait a minute. And when I went to look at last year's calendar that I have up on the wall, I have the DPW calendar. I don't have the school calendar. So I was just wondering who actually gets this calendar.
I know I did, and now she has it, because I don't need it, and she can have it.
Oh, thank you.
But it's a question that might affect a lot of people.
And the only question I have is because I'm one of the chair people for the scholarship, and it said to be determined. And when I spoke to Patty, I'm like, I've been the chairperson for 10, 15 years. And she said, well, it's been like this for a number of years. And then when I went to look at last year's calendar, not that I didn't believe Patty, but when I went to look at the calendar, I realized, well, I don't have that calendar. I have the other calendar. So my question is, who actually gets this one? And that's it.
And we could look into the calendar, Mrs. Conway. I believe that comes from the township. I don't remember that coming to me for proofing any school issues in there. I did see the school information that's contained within it, but that didn't come across my desk for, to proof it, to make sure that information was accurate. I'll follow up with the township and see who and when they
I
send it
thought we
out.
paid 50/50 for it
We
years
might have-
ago.
We might have paid for it, but I didn't get a chance to give it a proof. So it didn't get to my desk, so we'll take a look at that and see what we can do to make sure that information's accurate and who it goes to. Regarding the bus stops, we'll take a look at that. Obviously, we don't want to put anybody in harm's way. I know we try to schedule the buses to be as efficient as possible, and sometimes those runs are very long, and that may necessitate it being a little longer, but if it's for the sake of safety and we can do it in an efficient manner, we will definitely take a look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mohan?
Thank you. So just the other day, we had a Middlesex County Board meeting with the Association of Board Members, and it was a very insightful meeting. It was regarding the pros and cons of later start time for school. And that's something that we were discussing. There was a, I forgot his name about it. It was a special, yes, exactly, Dr. Bendelbaum. He basically did a presentation in regards to why it's necessary for our kids to have enough sleep, or especially the teenagers, the high school going students. They need extra sleep, and he went through the process of what the pros were for having the extra sleep and what would benefit them if they did that. I was basically saying that that would be a great idea in two terms. It would also benefit the kids. It would also alleviate a lot of the traffic problem that we're having, as well as the transportation problems that we're having. Then that would be one thing that we could definitely do. And if we could look into that, it would be great. And it's also beneficial for the teenagers because they get that extra sleep. They would be able to focus a lot more. And it was a great, insightful presentation that was given, and this has been discussed for a long time. Since 2014, they've been discussing, and this football has been thrown over and over, year after year, with greater research being done by many, many different institutions saying that later start times for school would be a better situation for our teenagers to actually gain some more knowledge and learn and be focused, and they're not sleepy when they're in class. So that's something that we should be looking into as a board as well, and other board members are looking into it in other states and other counties. We should be also looking into it as well. And it was a great, insightful view. If you get to go online and check it out, that would be great too.
Okay.
Oh, just one thing. Carol and I actually attended that last night, and we were told that they would forward us any of the information that we would be interested in doing for that. It was actually very interesting, and I actually asked with a district as large as ours, because they blame number one reason for not being able to make the change is transportation issues. So I had asked, well, what would he suggest for our district? And he did give a suggestion, and I know Carol had written up something, but it was like late last night, so we weren't ready to speak about it today. But it's something we really need to look into, because the amount of items that he had spoken about, how it affects children by even one less hour of sleep versus one more hour of sleep, learning, mental health, and a number of different reasons. So we really would like to pursue this and look into it to see if it's something that Edison would consider.
Okay, thank you. Shannon? Dr. Chen, should we?
I just had a question for Dr. Bragan. Dr. Bragan, the small gym at Edison High that got damaged, and I know that we had applied for insurance. What's the update on that? When do you think the gym could be fixed and students could start using it again?
Yeah, it's a great question. We thought it would be a quicker and minor repair, so we were going to try to get it done over one of the breaks we had a few weeks ago. But we have it scheduled to start as soon as school gets out in June, because it's going to require, a total rehaul, a total redo and rip out the old floor that's there now and then put the new floor down. So we're working, we actually had a meeting already, and we worked with the building level administration. We're planning on basically like the day after school gets out after graduation to start it. And I think it's 2 weeks till completion is the estimated time, but we anticipate, sometimes there's delays, so we want to make sure it's up and running for the sports as they come back in midsummer.
So then September then?
100% September, yeah. We want to start it right at the end of, as soon as school gets out. I think our last day scheduled right now, graduation is June 17th, that next week to start it.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. So I just want to echo what Mohan and Carol and Elizabeth mentioned. Last night, I called in a little late for that the meeting, so I missed the beginning part of the conversation. It's very interesting that he suggested that as you mentioned, two of the most problem is transportation and sports. If we have a delayed, later opening. It's very interesting he mentioned about having, I never thought about this, having middle school kids to start early, right? He mentioned that, and have the high school, you asked the question, he said, the suggestion is middle school starts early, high school in the middle, and elementary school is the last, right? So this is the first time I hear something like this. He has some research to support that theory, and I guess we can look into that. Sure. And he did mention that the Princeton and Homedale, is that correct, Homedale? That they actually delayed the start than was they planned before. But the thing is, if we want to make this change, then multiple schools have to do it. You cannot do it just one district because the sports coming up and stuff like that. So it's a very interesting discussion last night, and I think we can look into it. Especially in the new year.
He had mentioned Highland Park and
Yes.
Metuchen.
Highland Park also delayed.
But they're
it.
walking districts.
Yes.
So it's different.
Yes.
And one other thing about this topic, before we take the credit, that we heard it at an important meeting. Several years ago at a board meeting, our students brought this to our attention when we were meeting in John Adams, I think that day. And they had a lot of suggestions and a lot of research. So maybe the students could get involved, at least the high school students, in supporting a program like this.
Yeah, it's a lot of logistical things that we need to do, and we probably need the other school districts to support as well for the sports and stuff like that. So,
But it's just because they brought it to us a few years ago.
yeah, it's a very interesting topic. It's whatever the research this doctor did, it was like but I missed the first part of it. It was a sign-on stuff, but it was interesting. Yes, go ahead.
It's really interesting to hear the discussion, and the research has been clear on this for years, as Carol mentioned, Mrs. Spadovsky, and going back in time. I think back to my own children when they were growing up, the younger they were, the earlier they got up, right? It seems like the elementary kids would be the first out the door at 7 in the morning if they had to be, and the middle schoolers and high schoolers would sleep till noon, right, if we let them, because their clocks are different than ours are as adults and as young children, so it's definitely something to look into. One of the problems, though, as Mr. Shi mentioned, and unfortunately, it's the logistical problems we got to work out. In Middlesex County, with a high degree of propinquity between the schools, 25 districts within a small area, and we all compete with athletics and different things, we'd have to be somewhat similar on the same page. But just without even looking at it further or delving deeper into it, just think about it. If elementary became secondary, middle stayed to where it was, and high school became elementary times, there's no transportation issues. It's the same buses, the same times, just different kids. And then we'd have to work on athletics, which is often the problem, because as you look at this time of year, right, as we get the daylight savings time, any outdoor events have to be finished 4:30, 5 o'clock or so, but I think those are logistical things we could work on, and we have talked about it at our superintendent's roundtable for the county. And if we can get people on board as a county initiative, move forward, I think we could really, as one of the larger districts, kind of drive the bus and set the curve for that. I think it's exciting, and I'm glad to hear they discussed it at the county school board's meeting.
I actually got up and asked him, what times would you give for us? And he had said it would be 7:45 for the middle school, 8:15 for the high school, and leave elementary at 9. And I realized, afterward thinking about it, there's only a half an hour between the middle school and the next route, but there is only a half an hour now. And then between the high school and the elementary, there would be 45 minutes, and there is 45 minutes now. So it's still allowed for the transportation issue, and between 7:40 and 8:15, I don't know if that would make a drastic difference with sports. So it's something to consider and think about, because the way he was explaining the difference in just even an hour or 45 minutes would make a big difference.
And logistics are things that we could figure out. We could work that out.
Yeah, because I don't know if you saw my comment, I made a comment on Zoom and say, it's hard for one school district to do it, right? So, but it's a very, very interesting topic, and, as Dr. Brigham said, a lot of times the younger kids wake up first. So, but, you have the issues with daylight saving time. You don't want the elementary school kids who are walkers to the schools in the dark and so on. So a lot of logistic things, but it's very, very interesting topic last night. Okay. So now we are open for public comments. So anyone who... So we'll get the parents that are not regular here. If you guys want to come to the podium and speak, I'll let you guys go first. So the parents in the middle. Yeah, this is no discrimination. Anyone who wants to come here and speak, raise your hand.
That's not the law. Got my hand raised.
Okay, Sue.
Hello, Sue Campione, 8 Triffer Court in Edison. Just a couple of comments before what I really came down. One, I agree with Mrs. Conway. I live off of Talmadge Road, and for years, the bus has to stop and the kids have to cross Talmadge Road, which many of you know is like a highway. And years ago, one of my neighbors was hit by a car because a lot of the cars do not stop. And I gasp every time, when I'm waiting behind and other cars don't stop. So that's a good idea if you could switch it. Also, with the change of school day, this is not new. My son is, let's see, when they changed the school to be, everybody was going a half hour longer. It was like 24 years ago, at least over 20 years ago. And the parents, at that time I wasn't working, I was very involved with the PTA. We fought that when they were changing the time to have elementary go last and the, elementary go first because of that they're up earlier and high school go last. And it was just shut down by administration because of the sports. We already go a half hour longer, and I know my boys played sports. There are plenty of times, especially in middle school, that schools are waiting for us because they get out earlier than we do, even South Plainfield and different schools. So we're one of the few that go a half hour longer already. So it was a big issue with after school things. The high school kids are the ones that do the most after school, and it just gets too late and too dark. So it's not something that's new. This was brought up, and the parents fought like crazy when the time was being changed, but it was shot down. So just, thought I'd throw that out there. But one of the things that I've noticed now being in the office, so many of the calls in the beginning and the end of the day into the offices, in every school is about the buses. And my child, isn't home. Did the bus come? Is the bus running late? We're putting out blackboards when the buses are running late. In the morning, parents are complaining if it's a different driver and the bus is coming late. It's cold out now. They're standing outside for, 45 minutes waiting for the bus. Someone had told me about it and I researched it. There's something called Here Comes the Bus, and it's an app that some of the things are you can find your route, when it is coming, access arrival and departure info. You can get updates. But the school district has to have a contract with Sonova Solutions in order for the app to work. So I just thought that it might be something that you could look into. I printed out some information about it because I had a mother on the phone the other day who was absolutely panicked because her son wasn't home yet, and as I was looking up for the bus, then she did see him. She didn't realize 2 buses went to the neighborhood, and she saw the first bus and, was panicked that he wasn't on that one. But it would just give the parents and the kids more access as to when the bus is coming and if it's running late, and there's an issue without all of those calls coming into the schools. And, most of the kids have phones too. They would be able to tell and wouldn't have to stand outside for so long waiting and not knowing when the bus was going to come. So it's just, I can give this to Dr. Bragan after, and it was just an idea. Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving. Everybody enjoy the much-needed break.
Can I respond to that,
Yeah.
Board President? That's a great point, Sue, and actually, Mr. Shi has mentioned this since I've been here, and at a transportation meeting just the other day, about we have the opportunity with our Versatrans software to have those apps and tracking devices on the bus, but we have to get ID cards for the students when they go on the bus, they swipe through, and we're in the process of getting that and piloting it with some school buses. I don't know if Woodrow would be one that we select, but Mr. Benedict is in charge of that, and we're going to have a pilot set up before the next board meeting. So it may be, if you could send me that information too on Sonova, I think you said, to see what that would look like. But I know we already have the Versatrans software for our transportation, so this may be something that is similar. If that one's better, we'll take a look at it too. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add that it was mentioned in the transportation meeting minutes. I've been asking this for about 2.5 years. Last year with the pandemic, there was nothing going on. So we were promised by the administration team at the December meeting. Right now we have transponders on 10 our own buses, so the parents can have a live track of where the buses are. So when the kids scan onto the bus, you will get information on that, and when the kids get pick it up in the school, when the kids scan, that will be tracked on the application, on the app as well. Let's see how it works. That's a pilot that's coming up. So let's see what's going to happen for the second half of the year. But the issue with some of the tracking is our own bus versus the one that's we contract. Probably 80% of our routes are contracted, and we can do a lot with our own fleet. But you try to ask the vendor, it's a little bit harder. That's why there's a bill, I don't know where it is, at the assembly, that Nancy Pinkin and Rob Karavinchak actually was supporting that. I don't know where it is, to put the GPS track on all the buses. The issue with the contracted buses, we can put them on the one that's serving the Edison, but you never know, next day they might be serving in South Plainfield. So that's an issue, but we can definitely start with our own fleet, and let's see how it goes, next semester with these 10 piloted buses. And that's something that we've been trying to do for the past couple of years, 2.5 years actually, but hope we'll see some result very soon. Okay? Maria?
I can actually attest to that, Jerry, because when I was on the transportation a couple of years ago, that did come up. And I would have said to Sue, oh, we have that already on our own buses, and never realizing it was never completed.
Yeah, first there was a transponder issue, and now, they try to locate these ID cards. We order several thousand cards. They try to get the ID cards and link to the students' IDs, and so they can also use it in the cafeteria. A little logistic things.
Right.
Yeah, but, we'll promise by the December meeting, something's going to come up. Okay, yeah, Maria.
I'm Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. Just a reminder, on Saturday is Small Business Saturday.
That's great.
So please reach out to your local businesses. I know they've been hurt by the COVID-19 restrictions, and they need our assistance, especially a mom and pop restaurant or, your favorite coffee place, new ice cream place. They all need our assistance. Yes, thanks. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving to you and yours. Just a reminder, November 29th, 1 p.m. is the cutoff for the virtual parent-teacher night, Edison High Parent-Teacher Conference. It's always interesting when you don't have to run the halls. On November 30th, the JCC Hanukkah Light Celebration. On December 2nd, Clara Barton will be lighting their Christmas tree, Amboy Avenue. Everybody is invited. Please come. It's a really great event. The bands from J.P. Stevens and Edison High, and I believe it was the chorus from Herbert Hoover. They do a wonderful job. And then December 4th, the Bazaar at Edison High, sponsored by the PTSO, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please come by. It supports Project Red. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria, I'm sorry, what time is it on the 2nd?
The tree lighting starts at 6:30. Yes,
Thank
please.
you.
Thank you.
I see you. Joyce. Joyce? I always save the best to the last, right? You know that, Joe. You can have your rebuttal. I'm being allowed to have a rebuttal. Come on. Come on. Come on. Crystal, come on. Don't make it up. All right? All right? Don't make something up that's not true. All right? You know that. The one you just made up. I allow you to rebuttal every time. Okay, Joyce, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. As they were talking about the school timing and all that, I was on the school leadership committee. We discussed the timing and we discussed how much the elementary schools, so the parents wouldn't have to pay for before school if the youth were there. We also discussed about reading. And we discussed about reading, how they were going to change the school calendar. But a lot of people were off with that. They didn't want it to be staggered throughout the summer because they're used to this, because they said by time the person or the children get back to school in September, a lot of kids, especially in urban areas, they've lost a lot through the reading and through the information that they gained the prior year. And if the kids do not read enough during the course of the summer, it happens across all lines of everyone. Now, I wanted to ask about the school, the addition on the school. Now, it would cost between $80, $95 million. Now, it would take about 3 to 4.5 years. Now, if we got a total new school, how much would the price be different? Because after listening to Liz, and she's added in the soft cost, that brings it up to like $100 million or more. And I just wanted to know, would it be better for us to work together to get a new building or something like a 9th grade academy? Because as we all know, the highest number of children throughout the schools with the 4 junior high schools, well, middle schools now, with the 4 middle schools, that's the major amount of pour into the high schools, J.P. Stevens and Edison High. So if we studied it more and got something like an academy, a different school over there, and had lesser people competing with each other there, I'm just saying this is something to look into. And last but not least, with the special counsel, does Beryl and you both have to have a resolution to have the special counsel? Just asking that one question. And at the end, I always say, I'll give them a little proverb, rudeness is the weak person's imitation of strength. So I just wanted to ask about that. Thank you about those two different things, the school and the resolution for the ethics violations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shipp-Friedman, for your comments. You know, if I didn't know you so well, someone could even say maybe at times you were persnickety, but I know that's not your nature. You're just asking questions to keep us on our toes. The idea of a new school is something I think this board has discussed even in public, and we've talked about the option, and we talked about a location of a potential property that is not totally off the board right now at the Talmadge and Coolidge area. You know, that seems like that could have been an ideal location. The price was a little different than we anticipated, and we are still in conversations with that owner and group of owners, so that's an option. The board talked about this building because this building, as of right now, is our most overcrowded building. And we wanted to share what was being discussed at the Finance and Facility Committee meeting with the full board and to share with the public, to get discussion and perhaps discourse and talk about the exact costs. It's a lot of money, and it would have to require some, if we didn't go to a referendum, some creativity with the financing, as we mentioned in the finance report that Mr. Mohan Patel read. We have some money in our capital reserve account, you know, and we're fortunate enough over time we were able to put that money away. That's like putting money in the bank that can only be used for building. We obviously would have to use a good portion of that and then try to finance over the next 5 years if we didn't get a bond, so that would limit the cost on how much we could do. So I think at this point it's in the discussion phases and sharing with the public and with the board to see how we move forward. But I think any and all options, I can't speak for the board members, but are on the table, including a potential of a new school, a ninth grade academy, however we could look at that. And as you know, the overcrowding is our #1 issue. And now that we're all back, right, we're after the pandemic, all the bodies are back in the buildings, we recognize that that's an issue for us that we have to address.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
If the school is better, you know, we're going to be taxed on it. So,
Thank you.
right? We're going to be taxed on it, so we want the best bang for our money.
Yes, we do. We will look into all the impact on the money and the taxpayer impact. So what Dr. Bragan said, what we are going to do, we're going to use our own budget, the current budget, to fund the school. We're not adding additional. We're not putting referendum or anything for this Edison, for the JP expansion. Okay, so that's what it is.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right here, Terry. Last guy in the room. You don't have to keep looking around the rest of the
Okay, yeah.
Right here.
Come on.
All right. I do exist too.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, Mohan has something.
Just to add on to that, you were talking about new school, we're talking about expansion, we're talking about, at the end of the day, in dollars, basically, right? At the end of the day, the disservice that we're doing to the kids here is egregious. Because you kicked that football 4 years already. That is also costing 3 additional years. So now, what you're doing is you want to say, we forget about this expansion, forget about J.P. Stevens students, forget about this area, add a brand-new high school, and we'll put it somewhere. We don't know where we're going to put it. We're going to put it in a contaminated site. That's what your proposals are sometimes. So here's my question to you, is that when do we start thinking about the kids that go to this high school? When do we start thinking about the parents? And South Edison, exactly. So the point is basically this. You want to bring up another football that you want to throw back, that's fine. That's up to you. Neglecting the kids now is not an option for me, at least.
So, you know, each grade, we're looking about 1,000 students. So let me just let me put the numbers there. It's no discussion in the back, okay, please. So each grade is about 1,000 students, right? So if we're going to pull one grade out, a junior high or something, we are looking for a facility that can host 1,000 students. When you're talking about a facility for 1,000 students, we are probably looking, the dollar amount is probably much higher than this, because we did have a designed for a 750 student thing. And that was somewhere around the $90 million range. And we're adding another 100 students. So, of course, we're going to look into all those options, but that just throw something out there. But we did look into these with a number of students and so on. So that's just a comment. Okay, Crystal?
Recognize me?
Yes.
Thank you. South Edison. So, you were talking about scanning kids' IDs when they're getting on the bus. Thank you. I'm going to make a video clip out of that. You just admitted a Fourth Amendment violation, a civil rights violation. I'm going to sue you on that. We also heard about a committee to spy on families. Normally in the past, people would tend to keep such a thing a secret, but in crazy times like today, where things like this are encouraged, I want everyone to go back in the tapes. They were talking not only about tracking the kids, a Fourth Amendment violation, a civil rights violation, you're violating the kids' civil rights. You guys created a committee to spy on families? I want to actually know who is on that freaking committee. Absolutely disgusting. Find out what families are doing when they go back home? Are you kidding me? Jerry, public comments is for everybody. We've been through this 100 times, and you still want to go the way you want to do things. You can't call, lawyer, let him know. The law, when it says public comments, it's for the community. It's not parents first, students first. And what he did before, he shoved me out. He on purpose wants people to go before me, so he picks me last. I don't get my rebuttal. I do want a new school built. I agree with Joyce. I want a new school built. What I don't agree, I don't want it on that Kilmer site. When they say they want a new school built, they want it on the contaminated site. That's the only place they want that school built. We can build a school behind TJ. We're going to find the most beautiful land that's not contaminated, and then we're going to build. So yeah, I'd hold off. That's a lot of money to spend into this building when you can just build a whole new building, but not where Sam Joshi wants to build his building. I want to know why you guys are trying to reduce people's speaking time to 3 minutes. I also want your time reduced, because it seems to me when people are done speaking up here, you don't answer their questions, but you start filibustering, and people are waiting to get to talk. You know? Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but he filibusters. That's what they accuse us of. It's our time to talk. If you're not going to answer the question, shut your mouth, stay in your lane, and let us come up here. Who initiated these discussions, Dr. Bragan? From Hazlitt, Keyport area, not from South Edison. All right, and if you are from South Edison, you moved away for some time. And even if that was the case, you're still not one of us, because the moment you cover up for these people, you're not one of us. You switch sides, and I just want to let you know that. Are you going to tell us you said at the last meeting that you got the impression from some members of the public that you wanted to reduce the speaking time? I want you to let us know who those members of the public were, so people can understand. How many members of the public were? Why B-Rao and Shivi want to shut down 3 minutes when members of the public, we want to come up here, we want to say we don't want our kids on contaminated property, the properties that they're promoting. That's why they want to shove it, take away our speaking time, so they can promote Sam Joshi's, and then we can't come up and expose it. They want to take away our speaking time, so we can't ask Baral Patel, hey, Baral Patel, who's connected to BEPS, the spokesperson for BEPS, for government people. What's going on with the human trafficking with the BEPS temple? Do you have a comment? How can you be paying people $1.25 an hour? Should they be thanking you? Like you demanded people thank you for the COVID vaccines, which don't work. You guys said people got free buses and air. Why don't you say the truth? Do you mean when you corrected that error that you had to go back and find out every single person, this guy got free busing from his friends, from his family member, and remove them from the list? Don't just say, oh, there was a mistake. Let the people know, why was there a mistake? Mr. B-Rao Patel, people were waiting for not just busing, but also for the COVID. First of all, I don't even think the vaccine works. I'm not even going to debate that. But people they're on a list for COVID vaccinations, and those people are going to be the people that need it the most. So whether people are waiting for bus services, for COVID vaccines, Baral Patel, well, you're going to go from number 1 to 50, you're going to go past the queue just to get your own people in there? That's why I put you on an ethics violation. That's why I wrote up an ethics violation on you. What else? Well, good thing that she's going to get her rebuttal, because I'm going to get my rebuttal. I really want to know. I want to know how many of you Board of Education members were born in Edison. I want to know how many of you were born in New Jersey. I want to know how many of you were born here in the United States of America. And then explain to me, who was born here in Edison, that I watched my own people suffer, pass away, whatever, through the contaminated properties, getting cancer, through the opioid epidemics. I want to know why people like Shivi and Baral, possibly Jerry, you're the president, you put it on there. You could have denied it, you put it on there. I want to know who the hell you people are thinking you can reduce our time so we can't expose you people that just came off a plane. I mean, you guys just hopped off a plane, the engine is not yet cold, and you already want to violate our time. If you come to this country, read the USA Constitution first before you want to violate our rights.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm not thanking you, Jerry.
Thank you. You want to say anything? Or just...
I'd just like to say for the record, I live in Toms River and have so for 19 years.
Crystal, we are all U.S. citizens. We're all sitting here. If we're not U.S. citizens, we cannot be sitting over here. This is our country. This is our town. Edison is our family, just like Edison's yours. Whether we were born here or not, this is our country. I have lived here since 1992, probably longer than what you have. All right? Whether you like it or not, this is my town, this is my country, this is everyone's town, everyone's country, everyone's sitting over here. Okay? All right. Do we have any other comments? Do we have first-timers? Okay. In the back. First-timer. You. Yep.
Good evening, all the members. My name is Ling Tu. I live in the Edison, District 6. I have a survey form for you guys. I hope you can answer me. Yeah, this is about the privilege and the marginalization. Okay. Let me give it a how to make it bigger. Sorry. Sorry, this is okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. So this is survey, my kid got from her social study class. He said, answer each statement honestly. Statement 1, if both of your parents graduated from college, check privilege. If you knew since you were a child that it was expected of you to go to college, check privilege. If you have immediate family member who are doctors, lawyers, or work in any degree required profession, check privilege. If you almost always see member of your race, sexual orientation, religion, and class widely represented on television, the newspaper, and the media in a positive manner, check privilege. Okay, I'm gonna read, not gonna read all of them. Okay, there's something about the marginalization. If you ever try to change your appearance or behaviors to avoid being judged or ridiculed or gain more credibility, check marginalization, right? If you were ever told that you should work twice as hard as others to succeed in school because of your background, check marginalization. I don't know how you gonna check your privilege or marginalization. I just want answer from you. Do you think it's appropriate to ask 8th grader to check privilege or marginalization on all these questions?
Okay, you done with the questions?
My question is, this survey form, do you think it's appropriate for the 8th grader to check privilege or marginalization?
Okay. You know, the practice that you answer, you give us ask all the questions, we'll respond. So we'll give you enough 6 minutes. Do you have any other questions? If you don't have any other questions, we'll respond. If you have other questions, let us know, we'll address them.
If you or your family never had to move due to financial struggle, check privilege. So my question is, what exactly meaning of the privilege?
Okay.
Can you answer?
Their definition is white people.
Excuse me, it's not your turn.
Answer her question, Jared.
You know the rule. Ask all the questions, we'll address them. Do you have any other questions?
So I just want to ask simple questions. Definition of the privilege.
Okay. All right. Dr. Bring, you want to address it?
Thank you for taking the time to come to the board meeting and share that information. I was made aware of that survey, I believe, at the middle school in question, and I met with the teacher to talk to her about it. And
Yes.
I asked questions as you did about, what was the intent. And in the conversations I had with the teacher, I'll share with you what her expectations were. I think what she was trying to do was to show to children that different people come from different backgrounds, and different people have different advantages over other people. Some are tall, some are short, right? Some were born into an academically enriched environment, and some weren't. That's what she meant to do. That's not what happened, right? So in answer to your question, I think the intentions were noble. However, they got misguided in the delivery. And that survey is not appropriate for students at the middle school level. I don't think it was appropriate for what she was trying to achieve. Again, I don't think the intent was malicious, but I think it was not appropriate for that age level and to have that discussion in our school district. It's not per se part of our curriculum. And again, the point she was trying to make, I think her intentions were good, but right, we know where the road to good intentions leads. Somehow it went awry, and the delivery was not what I would have done, or not what we would have expected. She was very contrite when I met with the teacher. She could do it again. She would wish she wouldn't have done it. It wasn't the right venue for children. I'm 56 years old. For a period of time before coming back to Edison, I worked at higher ed in a university, and we did that exact activity with people from 25 to 75 in a room of about 35 people, primarily white people, and it made people very uncomfortable. College-level professors who are supposed to be more open to different levels of understanding, right, and having different perspectives. So if you ask the question, was it appropriate for middle school kids? It was not. Absolutely not, and we do not support it to be used in middle school.
Okay, that's good to know, because before I come to the public, I also emailed the teacher, and directly I had this conversation with the principal too. and the teacher explained it's a part of the lessons. Yeah, part of lessons, yeah. I also check with my daughter, and but my concern is, it's a good topic too, because they were talking about the Constitution, Convention, those historical event. I have no problem with it. He trying to help the kids to understand the privilege before, go in deep into the conversation, about Constitution. I respect her, lay out the lesson. I think it's very good because it's a good topic to talk to the kids about privilege, right? And, but I just don't, like other parents had concern when I feel very comfortable because this statement is not a question. If she can change a statement to a question to ask the kids, do you think this is a privilege or do you think this is marginalized, would be more make sense, right? But if you use such a strong statement, it's basically label the kids or their family or even maybe the teachers here or privilege. Yeah, because.
Sorry, your time's up. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah. So
Okay.
I just want to know, and I know the.
Sorry, your time's up. I'm sorry. You can come back for a rebuttal.
All right.
Okay, I gotta have the same standard for everybody. Thank you.
Right here, Jared.
The first timers, let's do the first timers. Do we have any first timers? Yeah, come here. No, you gotta come to. You gotta go to the mic.
Let her stay there if she feels
You gotta go to the mic. That's the rule.
feels more comfortable. She doesn't want to be targeted by the FBI.
You're not presiding the meeting. I am. That's the rule we're following. Okay, thank you.
Sir, if I may, there's no one here to talk. There's no one here want to talk. So if these parents wants to talk, I do not find any reason for you guys not to let them talk. Let them voice themselves since no one's talking. This is ridiculous, okay? Seriously.
Right.
There's no one here want to talk, so whoever wants to speak, let them speak.
Right here, Jerry.
Okay.
Pretending like I don't exist.
Yes, go ahead.
Now she can go. You do pretend like I don't exist, Jerry. It's a habit.
Hello, my name is Rania Kasim. I live in District 3. I think what a lot of these parents are here tonight for is because it has come to our attention that certain things have been circulating in the classroom, just like this questionnaire. And my son was one of those kids who got the questionnaire and came home and openly spoke to me about it. Now, my son is 13 years old. He doesn't understand why the teacher gave him this questionnaire and what the whole purpose was. So it prompted me to contact the principal, and she was really great about speaking to me about it and telling me that it was addressed. I believe a lot of parents are concerned seeing the political, craziness and how this has become, fueled by what's going on politically out there. We're worried for our children and what they're learning and what they're being exposed to, because at 13 years old, how can you even begin to comprehend what all these questions mean? My son came home asking me what they meant and why they were given to him. And so it's not only happening in the middle schools, we know that it's happening in the high school as well. And so this is something of concern, because why are we bringing this into the classroom? It shouldn't be brought into the classroom. It's such a volatile thing, and I believe it should be meant for the parents to speak to the children with at home. And I just want to know, how are you addressing this? How are you, when something like this comes up? Because some parents are still unaware of this and how it was brought to their children. But we happen to see it circulating on social media, and I don't really like to find out about things like that. I would really like it to be addressed to the parents and come from you guys or somebody in the school, so just to ease our tensions and ease our worries and explain it to us. So I just want to know, were other parents made aware that this was in the classroom and being taught to the students? And, is this something that is in the high school as well, that's being taught?
Okay.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all of you coming and voicing your concerns. I would also encourage you too, if you have a concern that wasn't addressed, either at the teacher level or with your building administrator, email me or call my office. You know, I'd love to meet with you and discuss any concerns that any parents have. You're entitled to that as a taxpayer and as a community member and obviously as parents of our children. As I stated earlier, that's not part of our curriculum. I met with the teacher. When it got to my attention, I think some board members might have shared the concern with me that was, I want to say maybe on WhatsApp or something that was out there on social media. And I contacted the principal, and I asked her if I could have a meeting with the teacher to find out what are we talking about, what took place, what went on. It was probably the next day or a day after, I don't remember exactly what transpired. And she was distraught about it. Her intention wasn't to do what ultimately happened, right? It was, she had a point, she was connected to the Constitution and some of the inequities that are in our Constitution from a historical perspective. And her objectives were noble, although it was a little misguided, right? And at some point it went awry. As I stated earlier, that's not part of our curriculum. I think that material was more geared towards college-level students or college-level professors. As I shared before, my own experience with people at my age struggled to have that conversation. And so, yeah, it wasn't appropriate for middle school students. It definitely wasn't. And we don't teach it. We don't teach it across the board. It's not part of our curriculum. And if there are issues and concerns where that comes up, please let us know.
Okay, thank you. Any first-timers before I call people to come to speak second times? You guys, I saw your hand. Just sit down. Okay, so stop making a scene. I know you want to come. I have always given you the respect for you to come here. So when you come to meetings, please follow the rules. You know the rules, Crystal. You know the rules. I give you a lot of respect for you to come, and I give you ample time to speak, to follow, but I just ask you to follow the policy that we have. Okay? Do we have any first-timers? Okay. Joyce, is your hand? Yes, go ahead.
As you know, my profession used to be literacy coach, reading specialist, so I've learned to understand when people have processing problems. What I say and what comes back to me is completely opposite. First of all, let me let you know, because the rude person, let them know. I graduated from here, J.P. Stevens. I went to John Adams on split session, so I know way more than the person who's trying to twist my words of what I'm saying. What I'm interested in is the best bang and the best for our dollar, okay? What we can get with our dollar and how it's spent properly. No one ever said that they didn't realize the situation. I know the situation. I lived it. So how you going to tell me what I know and things back and forth? And that whole thing that you have this projection of everybody's out to get me. First of all, let me tell you, 2 times I've been on the strategic planning committee for the Edison school system, leadership board for the Perth Amboy school system, educational foundation. So these other things that are like being discussed, sir, I've already discussed most of them with very, very prominent people who can comprehend what you're saying and process it and give it back to the people correctly. I think it's rude and I think it's very distasteful to all of a sudden make everything become political, because if people know me personally, if other people know me, I had an after-school tutorial program for years. So education is my thing. So don't you dare at any time whatsoever play your little game and your little childish behavior when I say something. I think that's the most rude. I even looked back to the people. I said, is that what I said? They said no. They were sitting right in the audience. They knew that's not what I said. So I think it's just disgusting. I think you should apologize to people when you sit up and you tell a bold-faced lie in their face.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Lynn.
Okay, I just want to follow up, what I didn't finish. Yeah, I just want to know, I know the school attitude and the principal apologized, says it was missed. Now my concern is, how the school can prevent this from happening again. Because, teaching could be very personal. But from what I standing is, especially when you touch the social study or historical topic, the teacher better keep her own opinion to herself. Yeah, you may discuss about it, but try not to put your own opinion into the kid's mind. Yeah, because 8th grader, they might be mature or maybe not mature enough, right? So give them more room to think about it, those, topic, especially it's very sensitive right now, right? Deeply, instead you put your own opinion into their mind. So I just want to know, because when I talked to the principal, she said that she talked to the teacher, and I also asked her, can teacher do some repair work, maybe clarify in the classroom and tell the student that was not appropriate or apologize, but I didn't see that. She said that the principal said she's working on it, but we didn't see any apologize. I also suggest principal, maybe the teacher should send a letter to the parents who had a concern, because parents still, had concern. Probably you saw it on Facebook or whatever, they don't know, what the school attitude or whatever. So clarified, yeah. So this is why maybe, we understand that it was a mistake and the teacher was young. But I just want to know if a school or board can do something, to prevent this to happen again. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Again, I want to thank you and appreciate all of you for bringing these things to our concern. And, I say that in not merely a perfunctory manner. I do really appreciate the feedback we get from our parent community. Because at the end of the day, we have a large district with a lot of staff members, and we do have prescribed curriculums that are aligned to the New Jersey student learning standards. Teachers do have some degree of freedom on how they implement those standards, but they have to adhere to the curriculum. And if a teacher does try something that goes awry, we have used this as a learning experience and shared with other teachers at that grade level that this is not an appropriate thing to use moving forward, because we don't want anyone to feel like they're marginalized or not part of the community. Anybody. What we're trying to do is two things. We're trying to raise the expectations for everyone so that all of our students have access to a high caliber curriculum where their futures can be as bright as they want them to be. And that's a big effort in this district because we have a diverse background of children, from socioeconomic status to ethnicity to race to academically enriched environments and so on and so forth. We do, and that's our greatest asset in this district. It's also one of our challenges, right, to make sure we have equal access to all the highest caliber curriculum and provide the supports in place so everybody can access it. But in doing that, we don't want anyone to feel alienated either. And that's a fine line. And sometimes when you're working that line, sometimes some of our best teachers, they go over a little bit. And that's why we have administrators. That's why we have boards of education. That's why we have people, to monitor those things and hold people accountable. I met with this young lady. She was devastated. She was upset. And I try to use the metric that I would for everything. My children are older now. But when they were middle school age and I went into a middle school classroom, I would ask one question. Would I want one of my 3 daughters in this teacher's class? And I could look all of you in the face and say, I would want one of my daughters to be in this young lady's class, this teacher. She made a mistake. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't something she was trying to champion a cause or change some ideology. She had a laudable goal, and she used an instrument. Upon reflection, she would have used something else moving forward. So you have my word on that and my commitment to make sure we're doing the best we can for your children. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Young Kong.
South Edison, if you were doing the best you can, you'd fire her because she already showed her character. I just think you're just covering up for. I came here in the past, I said, hey, are we teaching critical race theory? You said no. Doing some research, I found out Woodbridge and other townships call it by another name. They'll call it DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So without going through alphabet soups with you, are you teaching them that you know what this whole damn thing's about right here, this whole thing? They just want to say, oh, white people are privileged, white people are the devil. I went to a rally one day. They told me they wanted to take the microphone out of my hand. They said, he's white, he's privileged, he shouldn't speak. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. No one else is going to be honest about it. That's what this is about. If your native language is not English, check marginalization. I guess I was marginalized. My native language was not English. When people would make fun of me about it, about my family members not speaking English, I just say, hey, you know, my grandma's been here 70, 80 years, still doesn't speak a word of English, but why should she? She knows a superior language. Why would she? That's what I would say. So, and that goes to another question about being teased. Everyone's a bunch of pansies, they need safe spaces. Someone breaks your balls, you break their balls. Why are you teaching these kids like, oh, you're being targeted? What's this one freaking question? If you feel certain that you will not be followed, harassed, or watched under close surveillance while shopping, check privilege. That sounds to me like a mental health question right there. Are you serious? A freaking mental health question. I know what you're trying to insinuate. You're trying to say, oh, if you're a minority, people think you're always stealing. That's racist. You guys come out with this anti-racist agenda, which is really racist in and of itself. Why can't you just, and Jerry, those were true American patriots that you just saw. You shouldn't have to tell someone that you're an American patriot. People know that you're a patriot. That's people like you always have to convince someone. They came up here for one moment, true American patriots. Jerry, tyrant. You're a tyrant. You're all tyrants. And I'm not speaking about the three at the end. I love the three at the end. I love the three at the end. Real educators. I'm talking about from Mohan Patel down with the exclusion of the lawyer and the business administrator. Burrell Patel, are you a head of a group that does human trafficking, paying people $1.25 an hour? Absolutely disgusting. I hope children weren't trapped. That's who the people voted for? Someone who human traffics women and children?
Your time is up. Talking about patriots, I'm going to tell you, my daughter is serving in the U.S. Army, okay, putting her life out there to defend the Constitution, to defend the freedom of speech, so you can come over here and talk. That's patriot, okay? That's my second generation. That's what she is doing. What are you doing? What are you doing? I am here. I am as American as you are. Although I was not born here, but I am as American as you are. Anyone sitting over here, Biro, Shivi, Dr. Chen, Shannon, Mohin, everyone who's sitting here, they are as American as you are, okay? Thank you very much. Can I have a motion for close public comments?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mohin Patel and Biro Patel. Meeting is adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.